This is the Garden of English. I'm Tim Freitas, and if you're going to college, I'm going to tell you 2 mistakes to avoid when you get your writing assignments. So you're going to want to check this out. All right, so for those of you that are going to college or are in college and you just started and you're getting used to things, I'm going to give you some advice. And that advice is going to come right after I talk about my Patreon supporters who are here. Thank you for everybody who's over here. But anyway, here is the advice. Number 1, when you go to college and you are assigned a paper and you are told that that paper is supposed to be about Chapter 4 or the Russian Revolution or, who knows what else, you're going to be sitting there as a college freshman and saying to yourself, well, what do I write about in Chapter 4? Or what do I write about in relation to the Russian Revolution? And the truth is that though you might be thinking that, you absolutely must not raise your hand and ask that question. No, you are in college. Therefore, if you are told to write a paper about Chapter 4, you have the open field of Chapter 4. Now, why is it that you don't want to actually ask that question? I'm going to tell you why. Because first of all, if you do, you're going to look like a dope. Trust me, I went through college and I watched many people ask that question, and many a student looked like a dope. And I don't want that for you. But why also is this a big deal if you ask that question? Because when you were told to write about Chapter 4, you could actually pick anything from Chapter 4 to write about. If that was the direction, you could pick about anything. I remember once I was told to write about Chapter 4, or maybe it was Chapter 3, I can't remember the actual chapter, of a particular book. And I decided I want to write about the argumentative characteristics of a piece of cheese on a cracker in an advertisement in that particular chapter of a book. That's what I wrote my paper on. And sure enough, I got a good grade on it because it was really fun for me to write because I was like, oh my word, I can create a nice, really solid argument about this. But if you ask after you were told to write about Chapter 4 and the professor thinks about it, gets a little annoyed because you were not okay with the freedom that he or she gave you, and then is like, I'd like you to write about the abstract qualities of the ratio between the derivative of second grade and the astrological beginnings of how we do indeed conceive time. Well, that really stinks because at one point you had all of Chapter 4 to look into and then pick from, and now you have to write about something that you don't have a clue about. That's extremely pointed, and you cannot use the freedom that was at once granted to you. If you are given freedom in college, by all means, please actually show that you can use it and do it well. I mean, why else did you take AP Lang or AP Lit if you were not actually taught to think for yourself and to go find your own argument in something and then actually present that argument and provide evidence for it and proper reasoning? So by all means, do not be the person to raise your hand and say, so what do I write about? Now, someone else can. And when that person raises her hand, as my colleagues in Texas like to say, just sit there and say to yourself, bless their heart, right? But don't let it be you. The other one that I want to tell you is this. You're going to be thinking to yourself, not only what am I supposed to write about if I'm assigned for Chapter 4, but you're also going to be thinking to yourself, well, how long does it have to be? Don't do it. Do not do it. Do not ask that question. Let somebody else ask that question, but hope that nobody asks that question. When you're given your assignment, you want to think to yourself, okay, how long would it take me to do this and do this well? Because that's really the stipulation of college work. Whatever is done needs to be done well. And however long that takes, that's however long it has to be. However, you will have a student in your class who will inevitably be the person that's like, okay, even though my hand's like cut off there, I'll put it down here, right? And then say, how long does it have to be, right? You need to sit there and say, bless your heart, right? And you need to remember that Freitas warned you. And the reason why is this, because the stipulation needs to be that the paper's good. Unfortunately, once somebody asks the question how long it has to be, that could be a huge game changer for everybody. Let me give you an example. When I was in graduate school, mind you, and you would think that people already know these rules because they should. I had a professor that gave us a project, and I sat there and I thought to myself, and I said, okay, I have a basic understanding of what this project is. I'm pretty sure I can do that really well in 12 pages. So I sat down I thought about how I was going to map out my 12 pages in relation to the project, or should I say the paper at hand. And I was like, okay, I've got, 2 weeks to do this or 3 weeks to do this. So I could do that. And sure enough, at the end of the class or just a little bit later, one of my colleagues in the classroom raised their hand and said, how long would you like that paper? And the professor said, 17 pages. And I was devastated because I'm like, great. Now I'm going to have to try to pontificate for 5 more pages, things that I don't even need because I can get this done in 12 and get it done well in 12. But sure enough, the second somebody got the page number said out loud, that was the page number for the assignment. And I don't want that for you. And if this is going to happen to you, I don't want you to be the person that gets all the angry glares from your colleagues that are indeed in your class. So you might say, this sounds like ridiculous advice, but I promise you're going to fall into this situation and you're going to hear somebody else ask those 2 questions. And when you do, I want you to just sit there and be like, oh, Freitas was right. Freitas was right. I tell my students this every year, and I get emails all the time that say, thank you for warning me and not having me be that person. And I'm like, good, I'm glad that you're not. Anyway, this is just a quick little college tip video. Maybe I'll start throwing a few of those in here every once in a while. And if you have any questions about college, especially if you're a college freshman, by all means, put them in the comments down below or shoot me an email. I'm extremely accessible on Instagram or online or anything like that. So you can actually just shoot me a question about, college writing or college reading or anything like that. And I'm happy to answer those too. I'm not just a one-trick pony with AP Lang and AP Lit. So if there are writing questions and whatnot, by all means, just toss them out. Anyway, if this video was helpful, I'm going to ask that you click like and subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram and things like that. You can also check out our merch at thegardenofenglish.com. If you go to that merch side of things, we've got some new t-shirts up, by the way, which you'll actually be able to see in another video that I'm filming very soon to announce what's something new that we're doing. But we have posters and things like that as well. We also have excellent support from some corporate sponsors like Parlay and Perfection and Apply Practice. So if you're a teacher, you want to check those things out. But because this was mostly for college students and advice to you, chances are the only thing that might be, that might be appealing in all of this is the idea that you can go check out the merch on my website. And actually, even at that point, you're like, I'm a college student and I'm broke, so why would I even do that? But what's free is clicking like and subscribe, so I'm going to ask that you do that. And I hope that you all have a great one. And once again, put any other questions about college writing and assignments and things like that down below, and I'm happy to answer them.